Imagine the original.
What everybody's We checked them all. Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
Yes, Thursday, executive sessions.
All right, it is 6:30. I'd like to call this meeting of the Morrison City Council to order. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Bruckner. Cruz.
Here.
Mahaffey.
Here.
Schlegel.
Here.
Travell.
Here.
Tickler.
Here.
West.
Here.
Sidema.
Here.
Stand and repeat the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do not believe anybody signed up for public comment.
No.
And we are pleased and privileged to have Kim and Ken from SOC to talk about the impact program. You have a folder on your desk. And I think we had a flyer that was, reproduced for the packet. Is that correct? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that is what is being projected as well. Kim, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing Ken and I to come tonight and share a few updates on the impact program. You may remember a few years ago, Dr. Lori Cortez addressed the city council and she shared some information about the college's new impact program. At that time, we were kicking off a fundraising campaign. Tonight, Ken and I are here to share those updates with you. And as Brian mentioned, you do have some information in front of you as well as what was sent out in the packet. Does anybody not know what the impact program is? This might be the first room I've ever talked to where it's 100%.
Yeah, thank you.
Nobody's gonna admit it.
Thank you. Well, if that is the case, I will share a few little nuggets about the program. It is the college's earned tuition program. And to be eligible for the program, students from public, private, and homeschool environments follow 5 simple qualifications. The students sign up for the program by September 1st of their freshman year of high school. They graduate on time with their class. They volunteer 25 hours each year at high school. They apply for at least one other scholarship. They don't have to receive it, but they do have to apply. And then they complete the federal financial aid form, which is now a state requirement or its equivalent waiver. We believe the impact program is about changing the future of our communities and creating connections between our students, our communities, and our businesses, as well as our nonprofit organizations. Through this program, we have seen parents and siblings volunteer with their impact student. We have also seen some of the nonprofits in the region gain more members through this program. For the impact program hours, does anybody want to guess how many hours those students have completed? Total hours by every impact student in the region
Since,
since June 1st of 2024.
I'm gonna say 1,200. Probably more than that.
10,000? 61,000.
no.
61,000.
So, of that, the important facts, we want you to know tonight is there are about 1,500, students signed up for the impact program across the Sauk Valley Community College District. Nearly 50% of Morrison High School students are impact students. The first Morrison students are juniors who will be on Sauk's campus in the fall of 2026. There are more than 25 organizations in Morrison benefiting from student volunteers. MHS students specifically have donated more than 4,000 hours, or about 15% of those total 61,000 hours. So that's pretty cool if you think about it. Half of our student population has donated 15% of those hours. And they have donated them here, but also across the region. So students can volunteer for any activity in any area that has volunteer opportunities available. In an effort to help our students who earn their tuition be better prepared for a career locally, Morrison High School is also part of a special pilot program called Future Fridays. On Friday, most Fridays during the school year, we bring in professionals to meet with interested students during their homeroom time. To date, students have had the opportunity to meet with a physical therapist, a physician, someone from the ag industry, small business owners, an expert in AI, and more. These opportunities for students help them be more aware of various career paths in the region. That's important so that when they get to Sauk and they've earned those hours, they're actually headed straight towards hopefully a career path. It may change, but they're hopefully not spending as much time that first year trying to navigate what they want to do. And they've built relationships within our community, within those businesses, and possibly helping connect them to internships or apprenticeships. I'm now going to turn this over to Ken for him to share a little bit about how Impact is helping students in our.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Tell some people about the meeting here tonight. I need to visit some about career technical education and some outreach that this does for students that may not be college bound. I'm gonna confess, when I was getting ready for college, I was at a community college, and in my mind, what that meant for me, I was gonna save some money, I was gonna live home, and I was going to take away those requirements that are gonna make it cheaper for me to graduate with a degree. And that was my goal, worked out well. But we know there are a lot of students that aren't gonna take that pathway. We know a lot of students that are in high school, are gonna stay in our community. And we certainly want that. But they're thinking about opportunities that are gonna get them into the workforce right out of the gate. So when we think about that, we're also thinking about a group of students that may benefit from career technical education. And that type of coursework is available at Sauk, and hats off to them for making this part of their strategic plan. Because we realize, as many community colleges do, kids are gonna stay local and they aren't gonna pursue that degree. In your packets, there is a list of programs of study available at Sauk. And of course, that lists everything that is transferable, moves those students towards universities, and of course, we want them to come back and open clinics and run hospitals and do the things they do in Morrison as well. But on the backside of that page, there are about 30 listings of career certification programs that are outlined that involve agriculture, they involve computer technologies, they involve beginnings into nursing and the medical fields. Talks about, of course, machining and manufacturing and welding and HVAC and all those skill sets that those students that don't move on to the college levels are going to benefit workforce development in our area, succession planning in our area. All these types of things are available to these students. So as Kim talks about the 40 or 50% of the students from Morrison that are actively involved in the impact program, that's great. I would love that number to be higher. I would love those students to hear the messaging about some of this skill set building. These career technical opportunities as well. Less time in the classroom, a little bit more time hands-on. So when you think of that student, who may not be ready quite to dig into the theory and the books in the classroom or at university. This is gonna be a quicker way into the workforce with some tools in that toolbox and opportunities to really build some skill sets and feed our workforce opportunities here. So the messaging for me will be career technical education, CTE coursework, that type of a pathway that's gonna benefit not only our local workforce, those students, and really opportunities down the road. Before becoming a partner with the SOC, I'm kind of new to the team. Most of my professional years have been spent student facing, whether it be when I was with the county, in the court system, or the academic world that I've been in the last eight or so years. Much of the time spent talking to those students, there wasn't a lot of energy and effort put into where they were gonna be after graduation. Even as junior seniors, I hear, I'm not sure I'm gonna get a job, with little really understanding of what we have in Morrison for the Sauk Valley area to offer. So that is the piece that I hope that we can provide, and the impact team that we talked about will follow these students through high school. Conversations, shadowing opportunities, things that they can learn about in and around Northwestern Illinois that will produce for them and also the workforce and the world of employment in our area. So appreciate your attention. I'm gonna pass it back. Yeah.
Two important things I do want to know is, if you know a current junior that didn't sign up for the impact program as a freshman, they can still sign up and benefit from that. They have opportunities to earn a prorated tuition. And I think the other thing that's really important for our parents to hear, and even more so for our students, although, in talking to a lot of them, they just look at me and smile and say, okay, Ms. Eagleson, thanks. Go on. But if you are a student that might be considering an athletic scholarship or think you're gonna be that professional athlete, if they earn those hours, they can still use them. The same with someone going straight to the military. They can use those hours that they earn by going either online or through summer classes. So that's an important piece that I don't think gets shared enough with students, because we did have it's actually a Morrison parent that said, well, I think my son's going straight to the workforce, they're gonna weld, this is the path, I know what good this is do me. Well, if they're going to take additional apprenticeship classes potentially, then they can use those hours they earn and use that for their apprenticeship tuition at SOC, and the employer doesn't have to sustain that. So the employer money that might be given would potentially go for another set of courses that they would take further on the line. You might wonder where we're at today. So when Dr. Cortez was here a few years ago, she mentioned we had a $10 million campaign to fully fund the impact program. Today, we're at 7.3 million, just in 3 short years. We have 4 districts that are fully funded: Fulton, Prophetstown, Linden, Tampico, Milledgeville, and as of 2 weeks ago, Polo is our 4th community that is fully funded. Last fall, we kicked off a special campaign, the Mustangs Endowment Challenge, to fully endow Morrison schools. It's about $450,000 to fully endow Morrison schools. Thanks to the generous donations we've already received, we've already raised more than $160,000 for that effort. We're here tonight to ask a few things, and some of you were able to be at that kickoff presentation last fall and heard me ask these 3 things, so I'm gonna ask them of you again. The first one is very easy. When you all go to coffee in the morning or lunch with your friends tomorrow, or even if you run to refuse to quit and you're talking to folks next to you on the treadmill, tell them what you did tonight. Tell them what you heard about the impact program, the fact that Morrison students have contributed 15% of those hours volunteered. Help us stay connected. The reason that Polo was fully endowed is colleagues do a presentation like this. After they left the next day, someone in the audience called and said, you need to meet this person. They have a tie to Polo. They met with them. And the next thing you know, a check showed up that fully endowed the program that ended their campaign. So again, the power of connection is amazing. So if there is someone that you think might be interested in giving to Morrison students, please reach out to one of us and we can help forward that message. And the third and final thing is to consider giving a donation, whether personal or from the city council perspective. This is going to benefit Morrison students. This is a true economic and workforce tool. And whether it is you personally or the city, I would encourage you to consider this and join the ranks of other cities that have also supported the Impact Program. Sterling, Dixon, Polo have all given donations. I would ask you to consider an annual donation to the Morrison Impact Endowment Fund, specifically to be used for Mustang students. As you think about what you heard tonight, think about when you were a senior in high school. Someone believed in all of you. I would ask that you remember and consider leaving a legacy for Morrison students, maybe those that don't have a support system at home. This program takes away the most significant barrier to education, the cost of it. Please leave that legacy for Morrison students and consider giving it. Anybody have any questions for Hannah?
Questions?
Very well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. The material you prepared in advance, appreciate that. City officers, department heads. Chief?
Just a few items, Mayor. Last week, we had a young man, with special needs go missing for about 4 weeks. Parent of that young man contacted me and brought up a program called Project Lifesaver. And, I've been researching that a little bit. There's a little cost to it, but, it's a, GPS device that, he or she could wear that would make that issue a little easier if they wander on. And it can be used for dementia patient outliers and intellectual disabilities. So I've been looking into that. Hopefully it brings some information to the council about it. So we know very well. After Earl Simmons chaperoned a video game incentive night, I'm sure he's looking forward to that last week at Southside School. And he also has a Valentine's Day dance fast approaching as well. And we continue to work on our state qualifications, which are endless, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Nathan?
Yeah, youth wrestling is almost over. This coming Sunday will be the tournament that they run. So that'll be finishing that. Youth basketball will be over on February 22nd. And then we'll be starting youth volleyball on February 25th. We have 32 kids signed up for volleyball right now. And then our bingo night last Thursday was a record. We had 41 people show up here. And I think some of those are on the Impact. I think the 3 high school girls that helped our toast and did the calling, they were calling it, but the group. So yeah, that was really good. We had.
Congratulations. Treasurer, nothing to report, okay. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to remove any of those items? If not, a motion to approve the 3 items on the consent agenda is in order. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Since there is money involved, we need a roll call vote. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Cruz. Yeah. Mahaffey,
Yes.
Schlegel,
Yes.
Travell.
Yes.
Tickler.
Yeah.
West,
Yes.
Lightima,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, for consideration and possible action. Number 2, reimbursement request. City Administrator Melton teed this up in his memo to you from Friday afternoon. And you can see the minutes, the projects that were taken on. I think to get this on the floor for discussion, we would need a motion for reimbursement. And keep in mind that motion can be amendable as far as the amount goes.
I'll make a motion to bring that up for discussion.
May I request you have a motion for reimbursement in the amount of X to Mr. Hembrow?
I thought you said that we could discuss and amend that.
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can have a motion for discussion and with the movement on the reimbursement. Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to discuss the reimbursement request from Mr. Hembrow as detailed in two separate projects in the minutes from the Historic Preservation Commission, excuse me. It's on the floor for discussion.
Mhm.
You made the motion, Alderperson
Yeah, so-
Mahaffey, I'd give the floor to you.
Thank you. My question is, can you please remind me, City Administrator Melton, what our budgeted amount was for reimbursement for this fiscal year?
It was $5,000.
And have we or have we not already met that?
We've met that to the tune of just shortly over 20,000 total.
Okay, so, and this gentleman is requesting 10,000, I believe it was?
Yeah.
Was that correct?
Right. Well, his paperwork said he's asking for 50%, which is $17,916.30. What he's asking for.
Correct. So. Just my concern is. I love that all the downtown businesses have finally. Become more aware of this program that has languished, I believe, for the past several years. But. At what point do we kind of like cap it? And I'm not trying to sound like a jerk here, but there's a lot of buildings on Main Street, right? And as though as a part of the city, I want to contribute to beautify our city. I think that we need to establish some parameters and a ceiling for this at some point moving forward, because that's a significant amount of money for one person to receive. And although it would enhance our downtown area that we've already spent a lot of money on, I just think that as a council, we need to put some parameters in place to cap it for each individual. Whether that individual owns 5 buildings or 1, they're gonna have to, as in business, choose which.
Yeah.
Project they'd like to do. You see what I'm saying?
It's tough too, because I
Right?
mean, and this is all subjective, right? But. And every building could use work, right?
Correct.
But. Like, that to me was one of the nicest buildings on Main Street, even before it had work done. I
That's
mean,
correct.
it's a really sweet building.
Is it a choice aesthetically or,
Some tuck
That's
pointing
my-
done, which
Yeah.
again, but
well, that's needed. You-
But can you, while you're refreshing our memory, Glenn? So this did not go through the process,
What
right?
buildings are we talking about?
We're talking about American.
Ameriprise Financial,
Which sits right between Peanut Butter and Deli and,
Yeah,
Um,
the address
flower
is,
It's got the original
Yeah.
front on it.
117
East Main.
East Main.
Have we funded other ones that did not go through the process? We did, right?
We have.
Buck Walters, I don't think. went
Yeah,
through
I
it.
think
yeah,
that would be the one that came to my
Yes.
mind.
I just think we need to set some. So every meeting, we don't have these coming at us, and then pretty soon we've spent $150,000.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you recall, 2 meetings ago when we had another issue, the council made it very clear to me to give a message to Historic Preservation Commission. And I then met with Barbies, the chairperson of the HPC, and told her exactly that. To make a long story short, yes, we need to tighten the ship, so to speak, on this, set some parameters. Had a very interesting conversation with Alderman Schlegel earlier today, which might be a good idea to kind of rehab this whole program if we continue to do it. It's totally up to you guys, but for this request, I would probably simply recommend following the unwritten rule or the precedent that has been set and have you guys consider a reimbursement up to the $5,000 mark, because somewhere along the line, over the years, that $5,000 mark got set in the community's expectations that that's how much they get. Well, that's not really the way it went. The way it went is the council budgeted $5,000 each year. We just didn't give any out for many years. Now we have a great problem where we're receiving more requests. However, to maintain some consistency for the remainder of this fiscal year, which we are done with, there's one other request out there. But after that, I suggest we don't entertain anymore this fiscal year. I think we stay consistent and follow the precedent that this council's already started or will finish with in this fiscal year and fund up to $5,000 for this project in totality. That's my 2 cents.
So there's no rollover from year to year if it's not spent? There's no,
Well, no, because it was part of the general fund, so it was just absorbed in the general fund. We hope to change that for the next year by establishing a restricted fund where we could find a revenue resource or somehow transfer money into the fund and it carries over from year to year. So we can maybe find a way to finance this in the future through grant monies. There's grant programs out there we could probably pursue. And try and fund it that way without just our general fund funding this project.
Right.
this is another one that would work was done and then we reimburse rather than
Yes,
they propose it.
yes.
Wasn't that the venue they're supposed to follow?
No, you're supposed to
They
get
have to
approval. No, the process is you come to City Hall, you request, depending what you want to do, you request a request to participate in the building improvement fund or program. That request is then taken to the HPC. They consider it, approve it or not. If it's approved, that's communicated back to the applicant. They then finish their project and then they submit a request for reimbursement along with proof of a paid invoice.
Mhm.
And then that request goes back to the HPC. They review it. If it's approved, then it comes before the council and the council makes the final approval and payment of the reimbursement.
Because it appears that HPC already approved this, correct? Did you
Just-
dedicate a dollar amount?
No, they
to-
just approved it at their meeting this month.
Right,
And this project was done August through October, I believe.
okay,
So,
And it looks like the historical's not following the guidelines. They're telling people we're gonna pay up to 50% right off the bat from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, now Barb is here. The council wishes to give her the floor.
yes,
I hear consensus.
yes.
I want to correct, and what Brian said, that's true, but I want to correct some, maybe. We did not enter into this process to just approve every project. What happened this year was, as you pointed out, we suddenly had a lot of requests for a program which had not been active, not the fault of any of the former commissions. There was a pandemic, there were people just not working in the buildings. Frankly, the information for a long time just wasn't out there. The businesses, property owners did not know this program existed. When we began to get these requests, knowing that our budget was 5,000 per year, we bounced some things off of Brian. And he kindly said, okay, let's take a look at maybe we can go ahead and pull some of these things through.
We felt at that point, since suddenly we were beginning to move, and there is a resurgence in the downtown, which is good for all of us. That in this particular case this year, it would be beneficial to take projects that had been done, they were done in this fiscal year, take a look at those and take a look at reimbursement with a cap on it. And we had discussed various caps. The ordinance reads 50%
Right.
of an eligible. We worked with Brian and we capped it. Yes, there is some misunderstanding out there that it's 5,000 is cap. Internally, we discussed a cap of 10,000 per project, just to put something out there, because if they think they're hitting 50%, then, 10,000 is meaningful. This was the only year that we elected to go through this process and kind of backdoor a couple of things in order to give these businesses that support. So that was the first goal that we had this year. Now we're moving into the next fiscal. And we have been working on pulling together a packet with Brian. And the package would include all the information that any property owner needs in any of the 3 districts. Because this reimbursement program also applies to the other districts that are out there. You have 3.
Yep.
That's a lot of properties. So we have to find a way then to manage this once this information is out there. In this packet, which would go to every property owner, yourselves, so you would have all the information. It would also outline the process in full. It would give an example, it would give them sample forms, everything they would need either to go ahead or ask questions. Our contact information is through YouTube. So that's kind of where we are. We want to be supportive. We didn't want to put you in a position. So I apologize for the anyone did do that. I understand that fully, having been in your seats before. And we did not want to, and we don't want to. And I would be happy to be at every meeting, that there's something like this on the agenda. And if I'm the woman, which is so we can answer any questions you might have. We're just trying to support the downtown right now, and the fact that if they're interested in doing the work, we'd like to see them at least different.
No, I think we're all on the same page with that. I thank you. I think it's very beneficial, everything that you do, and a packet and guidelines moving forward is gonna just help everyone, so we're not put in this position again. Brian, I'd be interested to know, how many years did that fund go unused? I mean, can we validate the I shouldn't say overspending, but using the over budgeted amount this year by saying we're absorbing it from those years where it went untouched? Do you know what I
I
mean?
believe it was 2014, Harvey.
We started it.
Dr. Thomasino was the last one to use the program, and I think that was in 14.
So we have a
There
good
might have
10
been
years.
some after that, but
This was passed in 2010.
There might have been some small ones
Did he-
after that.
Did
Really?
the Donnybrook,
He used the
did
big-
the Donnybrook do one?
he used Donnybrook was MADC.
But we could validate this. What I'm saying is saying we have a good, let's say, 10 years of a $5,000 amount. So in this currently, kind of we're taken from the savings account, so to speak, to
This
address these. and then
General fund
moving
balance,
forward-
yes.
Right, so
So
moving
the-
forward, we
yeah.
have these specific guidelines in place.
Point being, it's not cumulative, but viewing it that way makes the optics.
That's how I'm gonna. do
Yeah,
it.
point taken. Thank you
Right.
for articulating that.
When it was originally set up, though, it had to be presented as Brian has said, had to be presented before any funds were ever considered.
And
And
I agree with that.
Thomasina was the last one that reaped the funds because he got the balance of what was left of the $5,000. And then the program was suspended through COVID stuff. We suspended the program. We didn't have the money in the
We
budget.
didn't, I don't think we put any money in the fund.
Well, that's what I said. We
Yeah,
suspended-
the program was there. It
It
wasn't
wasn't
funded.
COVID.
But when you're backdoor something, then it doesn't make this all legal right away, you know.
So there's,
It's part of the, when we set this thing up, it was set up to be authorized before any construction was to be done.
And agreed, and that's the way it should be moving forward, but the problem that we were having was, we had people in projects and they had no idea this program at all. Now they will, and yes, you could say, hey, they ought to pick up the phone rings.
And we already approved them.
Well,
We already approved people that didn't do it.
We
As it
approved
was
the
set
back
up.
door, yeah.
Right,
oh, yeah.
so now to pull the cord on this guy,
Approving them every meeting.
this is a project that we would have very definitely approved had they come prior. We didn't know the project was there.
Yeah, it was approved after the fact. That's what we're all saying.
Mhm.
None of this lately has been done legally.
No, but we opened Pandora's box. then.
yeah, we set a precedence, we already
Yeah.
approved people that didn't get
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah, but this is what's gonna happen is that in the next fiscal year, we're gonna revamp things so that.
It
how
doesn't
it's-
happen.
How it's supposed to work is
Right.
that the council gives HPC a certain amount of money to decide what they wanna do with it. And if there's gonna be a cap on somebody, it's gonna have to be them that puts the cap
And we
on.
will recommend it.
And then they'll have to increase the budget if they can year by year, if that's what happens. Or if something comes up, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with this as long as everybody's following the rules. And more people want stuff, the reimbursement, then you could bring it to the council and the council will then have to
Correct.
decide
And
that.
that's what we would anticipate, and that is why I like to be here to talk to you tonight. So you
Just-
know that we were not directly trying to just ignore the guidelines or the rules
Right.
in the ordinance.
I understand.
And Barb and I discussed, and I was, unless the mayor directs me differently, I told Barb, there's one other request out there. Just so everybody knows, that has gone through the process,
Mhm.
and they're still going through the process, but other than that. There are no more requests until at least next fiscal year, or we get this tightened up a little bit.
Well, I'd like to amend my motion then to approve Mr. Hembro's request at a cap of $5,000 from this council.
Okay, great, thank you. There is a motion on the floor and the motion has been amended. The amendment has been approved. The amendment is up for discussion, which would be the specific amount of $5,000. And I would ask, what is $5,000 in the FY 26 budget for this program? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Not yet. This would just be like the others this fiscal year, general fund.
It's in a general fund, okay, it's
General
kind of
fund.
not hidden it, but it's there, okay. So it's not a specific budget line item.
As any other request, regardless of this program or any expenditure outside the parameters of the budget. This council has done before, where they approve
Okay, and
expenditures.
to be clear, this comes from the general fund. Correct. Okay,
Got a question.
yes, please.
Is that $5,000 a figure you're throwing into what might come next year?
No. Maybe,
There's a
well,
problem.
yes or
There's
no,
a
yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, it could be either. We don't know, it's up to you guys on how you want to establish an actual written policy beyond the ordinance.
I
for
would
it.
say this $5,000 we're throwing out there is something that we're putting forward.
Well, we
And
can,
have something we can't back away from.
No, you can. No,
Yeah.
because next year we could restructure as a grant per se,
Hmm.
and there's so much money in there, 20, 25,000, whatever it is. And my idea would be, they would apply at a certain time of the year for all projects for the year. We approve them or disapprove them, whatever. When they do the project, they get a certain portion, depending on how many people or business owners are apply up to a maximum per owner.
So you're
And
not-
that way we know what we're spending, we're not overspending, and everybody knows what they're gonna get up to a certain dollar amount.
That's precisely the way we have looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now, we don't have, we put $5,000 in there, well, you know, that's.
All right,
I think we need to be reasonable. I just want to throw this out here moving forward. costs of craftsmanship have increased significantly. It's not 2000, it's not 1980. $5,000, we all know that doesn't pay the plumber to fix clog, right? So I think we need to be prudent and reasonable in our calculations. So we are actually offering a legitimate amount back to the community for this program. Just because we do have to consider the cost of improvements.
I think it just depends on the project, Savannah. There have been projects where it's like an aesthetic paint job. You know, and we could consider the Historical Society, you know, Commission considers that. But we've approved stuff already this year that was not $10,000 projects, right?
Right,
Some small one, yeah.
right.
We used, I sat in a lot of historic meetings when this thing was set up, and it was never, 50% was never the figure out there. They got a bill for $1,000, and if they felt $200 was reasonable or $300 was reasonable, that's what they paid.
But that's what's in the ordinance, though. The 50% is
Yeah.
what's in the
I know,
ordinance.
but it.
There's no.
But there was
caps
some
and bills.
altruism out there is the Alderman's point.
50%.
Yeah,
Right,
we can't operate.
50%.
Yeah, we can't do that.
right. And I think we just need to be reasonable. It'd be like me giving my kid a quarter and telling him to go buy a cola.
Can I,
They're not gonna get it.
can I reiterate this, that it's not going to be up to the council to approve every expenditure for the improvement of the buildings downtown. What the city has to do is actually decide how much money do we have that we can put to this, for this course, give it to them. They make a decision, they come and tell us, well, we're gonna have a certain cap on it, and we're gonna make the decision. And if too much money, if there's such a demand, it goes out, then it comes back to us. We want to keep that away from us and let you guys do that work.
You're correct.
Yeah, because you're the ones, you're the experts that know which thing should be done first, who should get what, and all that stuff.
And
Okay.
everything you do right now
Yep.
is frankly goodwill. It is.
Yeah.
And I believe they will.
I think you're all wrong.
Of course you do.
Section 26-120, proposed reimbursement to property owners. Under the guidelines of the program, which is administered by the Historic Preservation Commission, the city will reimburse property owners 25% of the cost of eligible building improvements up to a maximum amount determined from year to year by the commission, taking into consideration the budgetary line items allotted to them for that purpose. This was approved 4/13/2009. Right out of the big old Bible that I still have.
I believe there was enough. For that.
Well,
It's,
This hasn't been changed.
yes,
All the things I might believe it was.
You can.
it's on the it's on, it's 50%.
Do you have,
It's 50% now, back, I think, in 2010.
what was that approved by the council?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an amendment on the thing.
2010, that was changed.
And there's also a sentence in there that says, every reimbursement. HPC has the authority to approve everything, but every payment has to be approved by the city council. That's the way it's written
Yeah.
right now. That's the way it's written right now.
Yeah.
If that's not the way you guys want to do it, then we can change that. But right now, that's the way it's written.
I would prefer that you did see those in your bills, because I think that gives you an indication of what's happening.
Okay.
All right, yeah, I have to remind the council that there's a motion on the table. It's very specific, it's an amendment to approve or to change the motion to approve a reimbursement of exactly $5,000. Now we will vote on the amendment if there's no further discussion on that amendment. Hearing none, would you call the roll, please?
Cruz,
Yes.
Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Terrell, Tickler,
Yes.
West,
Yes,
Zeidema,
Yeah.
motion carries.
Okay, now the amended motion is on the floor for further discussion. The motion is to approve the amount, or to approve this particular reimbursement in the exact amount of $5,000. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All right. The amended motion is now up for vote. And would you please, we'll have a roll call on that as well.
Cruz,
Yes.
Mahaffey,
Yes,
Schlegel,
Yes.
Travell,
No,
Tickler,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Zeidema,
No.
motion carries 5-1.
Okay. Item 3, starting on your page 22. This is related to the hospital expansion and their use of that portion of Knox Street, which we have agreed to intermittently close. We've had a draft agreement put up. Is there a motion to approve this agreement, at which time it gets on the floor for discussion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second to approve the road use construction agreement. Are there any questions or discussion on this? I think the idea is to protect both the city and get the agreement of the hospital for their use of city property during their construction project. Do you have any further background you'd like to add? It's been teed up, and this was drafted by the attorney, correct?
Yes, our attorney, who happens to be the attorney for the hospital, drafted this agreement, as the mayor said, to kind of spell out the responsibilities, mainly for the hospital, so they restore city property back to its rightful condition. And I have presented this to the hospital. I haven't heard back from them yet about it, but I would simply encourage you to consider this and to move it forward, and hopefully they agree.
So if they tear up the road there down near the end, they have to resurface it, is that right?
And the sidewalk, yeah.
that's what it says.
They actually said that through the process of the construction, they will be tearing up the sidewalk along there, and as part of their project, will be replacing.
So they patching the road? That block of road.
Well, they'll
Why?
probably most likely be patching it because, as we will talk in a second, there's a
Should be
sewer,
sinkhole.
there's a sewer line issue there. So,
That's gonna be sinkholes.
well, hopefully if they don't.
It will.
I'm with him.
We should make all these people that come along and dig up the road and then patch it, come back in 5 years and redo it.
I'm with you, Harvey. Got my vote. Right, Ellen, right up on it.
They work on it for one day. Maybe not even 5 years.
Yeah. As we will discuss next.
Yeah.
But they want to close that for the entire duration of construction.
Once they start the actual construction of it, they would like to close what's closed right now. Because they'll be staging there and
Yeah.
there'll be cranes there, and it's just logistically the right thing to do.
Yeah.
For traffic and
Safety.
pedestrian safety. Yeah. So
All right.
this is a good thing, another expansion at our nice little hospital here in town.
How many taxes do they pay?
No.
So you pay them.
Yeah.
Also, I just hope that their funding is.
Oh, they're making all kinds of money, didn't you know that? You and I are paying too much.
So it's clear.
All right. The agreement is on the floor. Is there any further question or discussion on this agreement? I don't see any money involved. Let's do this on a voice vote. All in favor of this agreement? Any opposed? The agreement is approved by the council. Item 4, under consideration, we are going to move to discussion because there's some information outstanding we have not received in time for this meeting. Let's go ahead on discussion and information first, let's go back to the, grocery tax. Just remember, this has been teed up before. The, state is eliminating the 1% tax on groceries. They've made a provision for non-home rule municipalities, which Morrison is one, to implement a tax on groceries in any amounts in quarter percentages from 0 to 1%, without referendum, so the council can do it if you wish to. And this state tax goes away on December 31, 2025, or January 1, 2026. And we have the opportunity to implement a tax starting on January 1, 2026. So to the consumer, if we implemented a tax, it would not be a tax increase, but the tax would go directly to the city.
I think based on conversations we've already had that, during this meeting, that we could use this money.
Correct.
Yeah.
And as I stated in my report, then I think we've given this ample time for the community to pay attention to. And so, unless you guys want to leave it linger for more meetings, I suspect to put this on the agenda for the next meeting for approval.
Yeah. Okay, so in the next 2 weeks, if you have any further questions, call City Hall. If there's a technicality we can't understand or explain to you satisfactorily, we will get that information. All right, let's look at the sanitary line extension, East Knox Street. Morrison Community Hospital, which is on the board. As well as in your packet.
In the reverse.
I rotated mine. Here's a side.
I mean, of the order of the agenda.
Yeah,
We moved the sanitary line extension from action to discussion.
Okay, understood.
And then we did the first discussion item, which was the sales tax. Now we're gonna do this discussion item,
Page 26.
which, yeah, again. And thank you, you rotated that, so that's east-west.
yes.
And so. Stop me, but the current sanitary line is blue.
Yes,
The hospital is going to move that blue diagonal, and they're gonna make it the red sanitary line that is more of a right angle,
yes.
right before you get toward the end of the building, so another notch down the way toward Jackson Street. Okay, so what are the issues?
Well, the reason why the road was closed or still is closed was because the contractor was preparing to connect their new sewer line to our infrastructure in preparation for this expansion to start March 1st. They dug the hole and didn't find our sanitary line because our sanitary line ends approximately 100 feet west of where they were digging and hoping to find it. From there. So we're still, what's that?
Yeah, they didn't ask
Yeah.
for a
Where
minute.
does their
There
current
you go.
sanitary line come from? Jackson Street then?
No, it's right there. It's the blue line
It comes
connected.
from the,
It's at a diagonal right there in the picture.
And that's how.
That's our current one. That's our current one. But
Okay.
because they're gonna have a new
Right.
foundation and pillars right there, they wanted to move their sanitary out of the way of the structure. So you can still get to it without, in case you need to, without digging up half the building. So-
That blue line going up to their building is gonna be covered up by the new building.
Yes, that's why they want to move their.
That's why they have.
so we're gonna abandon that one.
They're going, yes. And so. Yes, so their engineers realized they had a little oops. And so now we're working out the details. I haven't received much more from them yet, but I was hoping to. So you had it for this evening. But ultimately. The sewer line that's in the street will eventually be the city of Morrison's line. So of course, there may bear some financial responsibility by us to extend that. We're still working that out with the hospital.
No, they need to do it, pay for it all.
Okay, so I'm bringing this to your attention. I was hoping to have more from the hospital on this by tonight, but I haven't received it yet, so,
Where did they think the sewer line was?
right
There
where
was
they,
the corner.
They thought it was the
right
red
there
one.
at that corner.
Is that where they were digging?
Yeah, there's a hole in the street that they've backfilled, from where they dug and thought the sewer line was.
They haven't worked since.
We currently provide a viable sewer line to their facility, but it's their expansion plan. That's a tough call. That's a tough call.
Say that again, Sedona?
I said, we currently provide as a city, a viable sewer line to their facility. It's due to their expansion that they wanna change the way that is mapped. So that's kind of a tough call for me, how much cost the city really should absorb on that. I mean, this is.
They are.
It's based on their plan, right? Not
So that's the
ours.
point. That's why this is a
Yeah.
discussion item. We don't
It's-
have
It's a
a
discussion.
proposal from the
Right,
hospital.
we don't have anything from the hospital, but they've asked. What would the city do?
I mean,
So,
I agree with Harvey.
Well. When there are numbers on the table, we'll have that discussion.
yeah,
so, yeah, that's the information I have now, maybe more next time.
There's one man working there today. I'm sorry.
But do we normally let a company or a separate entity go along our street to do, I mean, that's where this is extra complicated, right?
yeah.
I can see them
this is
tapping into it, but
usual.
all of a sudden they're gonna run it down the street, like, do we ever have?
No, that's
Non-city.
unusual, because that's where the city would
Exactly.
essentially come in, because. Blame aside, you know.
Yeah.
Never mind the engineers, but we as a city also have due diligence to provide. The services of our infrastructure to properties within the city. Did they misengineer where that connection is gonna be? Perhaps. But in a sense, we still have a responsibility we extend sewers and water lines all the time for development. This is nothing different in that perspective. I'm not saying that we should pay the bill here. I'm just saying that you have to keep an open mind to that extent. Because usually when you have somebody tap a new line, whether it's water or sewer, it's a private contractor that digs it out to the city line, and then our city workers are there to
Connected.
do the one last tedious step by connecting it, or at least monitoring the contractor connecting it to our infrastructure.
But that's only if somebody, they pay taxes, it's our responsibility
They paid a $14,000 building permit for this site
for this.
for
line.
the expansion,
Well,
which includes
okay,
sewer
well,
connection.
And there was a
So,
zoning variance, yeah,
yeah, they went through the process.
So normally, if that sewer line was all the way to the corner, going from the end of there to the building, is usually, that would be their expense anyway.
Right. But we didn't know necessarily, because sometimes, you know, when things get mapped, Shane didn't know how far that exactly extended past that manhole where the hospital is connected to, so.
Oh, they did consult with us.
So we didn't know how far it went. And so we said, good luck.
That's why.
Oh, and they went for it.
So,
If they ever go down in there and look, you should.
I wanna bring up one thing here. We have an 8-inch line coming down Knox Street,
Yeah.
goes to 6. Got an 8-inch line going to their place now. Now we're going on with a 6-inch line to their place.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
says
that's
8
why
inch
it's sold,
up to their place right now.
The red words.
Oh, the red?
It flows from a bigger.
You don't know
pipe
that's,
to a smaller.
that's six. They're
That-
labeling
no,
that-
that's
that
6.
Color is just for the new.
that's a
That's
6.
6.
No,
That's
no,
6.
hold up, hold up, hold.
quiet.
That 6-inch that you're seeing by the red line is the water main below it. That's not the
That's
6
a
inch
purple line there
on
or
the
whatever
new
that is.
sewer line going in. That's a 6 inch water main.
Sewer lines are all
We
8
have an
inches.
8, and then we have a 6, and then we have an 8.
No, the 6 is the water.
The 6 is the water.
You see that
Harvey,
light, that
there's a-
lavender,
Okay.
That's going up to a
lilac,
valve.
whatever you wanna call
Why are
it.
they using the blue line then going up, and the other one, both of them, water?
Yeah, the lavender, the light color, 6 inch is the water
That's
main. It's
water.
going up to a valve there. All the blue there is all 8 inch sewer line. It's all 8 inch.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
You're just seeing the water lines are on there.
Right on the blue line, six.
Yeah, but that's also on the purple line. It's the water main.
6 inches.
I like this
Next to 6-inch purple.
Yeah, you see right where it says Knox Street, it says 8 inch.
Black marker, the black.
Okay, yeah. Look at Brian's arrow.
This 6 inch here is for this lavender line going up to this valve box
And then-
right there.
Next to the word Knox Street on the far left. it
And then
says
not
8 inch.
here, it says blue is for
That's
this
the
8 inch.
sewer.
Everything is color coded by size in our. So every line we have in the city, that's 6 inches is all that pretty lavender. All of our 8 inch lines, no matter what they
They're blue.
are the blue. It's color coded that way.
Okay.
And red is new. It's not even enumerated, right? Okay.
And don't quote me,
Proposed.
don't quote me, but I believe they're bringing 10 inch out
Yeah.
from the hospital, the new sewer line. So,
Well, we
Yep,
don't need to get
okay.
into sewer theory, but like, if it's going into an 8 inch, why?
right.
I'll let Shane.
I'll let Shane deal with that.
All the way.
I'm gonna ask them to put one of those on. What's the word for it? Yeah, it's like, not a lift station, but it's like a Asher or
A
whatever,
grinder.
grinder, like the nursing home. has.
Nursing home has a grinder, yeah.
Are we,
Well,
So,
this project may start in the middle of summer.
so are we gonna ask them to do that?
What's that?
Like, what, are we gonna ask them to install, because that's been a point of
They
contention
might.
previously with other facilities about this grinder.
Yeah, there's several other facilities in town that have them.
Mhm,
They might already have one, not quite sure.
mhm.
I'll mention that to Shane.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, like the other,
Yeah.
Grinders, yeah.
Yeah, we asked.
Maintenance issue with other
yeah, yeah.
entities
Yeah, there's-
previously.
So that's just information for
Okay.
now. When we
Yep.
have more, we'll bring it back.
One item off agenda. But there has been some activity out at our new Public Works building with the interior reconfiguration, remodeling. They found some issues that are gonna require a change order. We wanted to bring this to the council's attention. Otherwise, it would be 2 weeks before we could ask for an approval of this change order, and I'll ask Brian to give some background.
So on your desk, I put a copy of 3 change orders. Hopefully the only 3, but I'm not gonna say them. From Daxon Construction Company, if you remember, is the contractor doing our public works renovation. As they started the demo, long story short, as they started the demo and got beyond what could be seen by our engineers or our architects, and without tearing the walls apart and the floor apart, they ran into some issues. Keep in mind, this building is now 50 years old. I think maybe that part of the addition was done at least 40 years ago. So you can imagine, once you start tearing the drywall and the ceiling off and the floor up a little bit, you can imagine what they ran into. I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, but I understand it to the point that there is, this room that we're renovating is a balloon frame, which means, the interior part of it ties into the shell of the frame. Well, it was, it doesn't pass code, let's just put it that way, and it, there was a serious structural integrity issue on the interior of one of the walls, basically the inside wall that attaches to the shell. It was in pieces, not one straight board, but in pieces. Should have collapsed some time ago, especially if they had weight up in that parts storage area. So they came across that. We had a couple of these change orders were kind of, you know, kind of expected with a building like this, with the plumbing, the sewer issue. It was just Murphy's Law. It was the day they started demo, they discovered a sewer issue, a sewer plug, so they had to clean that out. There was a bad pipe down there that they had to fix, and then they cambered the entire line out and confirmed that the rest of it was good. So we had a little sewer issue there. We had plumbing that they needed to change. And because of how they needed to change it, was gonna come up in the middle of one of our doorways. So we moved because we want to do minimal work in the floor because there's floor heat in there and we want to keep that. So in order not to ruin that, we moved the door over a little bit. So that's gonna cost us a little bit. But the structural part, which is change order number 2, the bulk of it, I was expecting worse, if this isn't bad enough, but I was expecting worse. That portion of it's gonna be about a little over $10,000. Just to correct the structural interior walls. And then, of course, then you have to do all compliant and to code electric in there too, because it's not done to code now. Because 40, 50 years ago, I'm not sure there's a lot of code. And then a couple other minor things we found, once we got the panel off, we found some old dry rot in the wall that we have to replace. So that was like $1,600. And so stuff just added up. I just received this today from Daxon. It's been reviewed by our architect, our construction manager, the architect. We had quite the discussion last Friday in my office about all this. And so Daxon put their numbers together, put these 3 change orders together. The architect reviewed it, like I said. And so what I'm asking you is if we can't approve this tonight, but kind of looking for consensus that we can move forward with this so they can start demo within the next day or 2. And then we'll come back to this and you guys can formalize it and approve it unless you're against it, unless you don't want to do this and do something different.
Brian, I got a quick comment and then a question. The comment, and I'm not a general contractor or anything like that, but it doesn't feel great I mean, because they came in at such a low bid. And then we snap our fingers and we had $110,000 change order.
Oh, it's why our meeting on Friday was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, just on its surface, that doesn't feel great. Number 2, and this is minor, but like, this is, you can educate me on this. Is it normal for change orders to have an overhead and profit 10% built in to
Well,
everything?
the way that the architect did this in this situation is they required them to itemize everything, basically to separate that.
Mhm.
So all their construction, their plumbing are the rates.
Mhm.
And then basically their markup,
Right.
they had to separate.
I mean, are you guys used to seeing that in the change order?
No, I'm not used to
Never
it. I
seen
don't,
it.
no,
Yeah,
but
You don't say that normally need the other
Yeah.
part.
yeah.
Which, that would be fictitious to maybe add. To the
Yeah.
original.
they were just asked in the bid specs to separate that. And to go back to the bid, that was our concern with the original bid. That's why we had our architect do some extra homework. We also received an additional bond from them to, basically, it was a surety that they weren't trying to lowball us. But this would have happened regardless of who the contractor was.
Sure.
Because as soon as you tore that apart, and saw the hodgepodge that was going on in there, it's now gonna cost you
Yeah, you're
even
never
more.
gonna see that in the original bid, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, you're not gonna see
So
that.
I
in
have a
the original bid.
question. So my understanding of Bloom Construction is it is the exterior walls that support the structure,
Yes,
right? So why is this interior walls an issue for structural?
because it was, because
Because they
Because
should
it
be.
was a interior, excuse me, I'm very limited in this, but I get it enough to be dangerous. It was an interior. When you put together your interior walls that have a load on them, just so you have something on top of it. It's either gotta have support below it, or it's gotta be a beam that is supported with so much distance in between. That's all engineer physics stuff, beyond me. This had 2x4s butting like this, and then nothing below it, and really nothing above it to support that, the load on that.
So
that beam.
was that not visible because of drywall? Cause didn't we have this place inspected? Wouldn't have they picked
We
that up?
did not
on the
have it
inspection?
inspected,
We
we
did
bought it,
not.
we bought it as is. And you would not have, an inspector would not have seen this because it was the interior part of the wall.
Okay,
It's because it was an add-on years
With an
later.
addition, yeah.
That's how you.
Yeah.
Cheapen things up and build
I'm not against any of this because we should have known this before we even got into it. That we're gonna remodel a thing, you know darn well it's gonna cost you X number of dollars or percentage
That's why they-
more than you
over.
ever planned on. It always does.
Yes, this was made very clear to them last Friday and exactly why we asked them for what we did in addition to what they put it, but they seemed pretty straight up about it, that they're a smaller company that they just didn't have the overhead, as it was explained to me, to cost more. That's why their bid was so much lower.
Yeah.
But so far, they've been great to work with. They're eager to get going and get it done.
so what you're asking us is you would like us to consider and vote on something tonight, otherwise we're just wasting time. Waiting.
Well, you
standing
can't
around.
vote on it tonight because it didn't meet the Open Meetings Act. But if we have a consensus, we can move forward with it and you can approve it next time. They're not gonna get it complete in the next 2 weeks before the next meeting, but
Right.
they can at least get it started.
Right,
I consent.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
another option. do we?
Yeah.
I mean, let's not have a,
move forward.
let's not waste any more time.
Anybody against that?
Appreciate that. All right. Thank you all for your input. At 7:40. I would ask for a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
Any opposed? All right, 7:40, I declare we are in executive session. The minute for the Anybody stuck with us?
Nope.
All right.
But it's there for matter of record.
You have a document called Memorandum of Understanding Health Insurance Dash Cost Sharing. I would entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? This does have dollar implications, so we better do a roll call vote.
Cruz,
Yeah,
Mahaffey,
Yes.
Schlegel,
Yes.
Travell,
Yes.
Tickler.
Yeah.
West,
Yes.
Sideman,
Yeah.
motion carries.
Is there a motion to eliminate the employee health insurance deductible reimbursement program effective May 1, 2025?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion on that program or that motion? All right, that's also has financial implications, so we should do a roll call.
Cruz,
yes.
Mahaffey,
Yes.
Schlegel,
Yes.
Travell,
Yes.
Tickler.
Yeah.
West,
Yes.
Sideman,
Yeah.
motion carried.
All right. Is there a motion to approve executive session minutes from the periods June 14 of 21 to all the way to January 13 of 25 to remain sealed?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on that action? Hearing none, we can do this on a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very, very much. Motion to approve, to adjourn is in order.
Second.
Is anybody against adjourning? Hearing none, I declare 8:02.
The next meeting,
This
right?
meeting is